Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room. Elephants, there's two actually. One, this is probably the most basic setup, if we can even call it's not a setup. If I could show you what this, first of all, it's being filmed on my phone. It's not a tripod. It's actually an old packaging that I've got. That's what you're sitting on right now. And this microphone is. It smells like it's just come out the box, and you're on my dining room table. That's where we're at, and this is my flat, and it's a dusty pink, but because of the lighting, I can't figure it out, so it kind of looks white. So that's number one, and nothing I can do about that. And then number two, you're used to seeing me in sort of like short form stuff. Like I try to keep things quite light as a Man United channel, and I want to continue doing that. But this is my first foray into long form, and one thing I want to be very clear on is that when it comes to my views on Man United, my views on football in general, I still want to keep it that level, calm and united playing field, because I've seen what the general kind of media has been like, and what independent media has been like with podcasts and with other creators, and I don't want to jump on that train. I'm not going to jump on that train, and I want to make sure that instead of just jumping on everything for the sake of getting a few clips, that I'm going to actually talk about the things I want to talk about in the way that I want to talk about those things. And for this, I mean, your support is key. Your support is going to tell me how I'm doing. It's going to inform future episodes. It's going to kind of dictate the future of where this is going. But the most important thing is that, as you can tell, this is completely unedited. It's pretty much completely unfiltered, and I want this to be as raw and as genuine as my opinions are in my other social media stuff, and carry it over to here. But one thing that has shown quite clearly over there that I want to keep here is accountability. I'm quite happy that I've been able to stay positive. Some people call it toxic positivity. I don't care. I've been able to stay positive about Man United because this is my club, and I want to stay that way and kind of take a calmer, level-headed approach to my analysis on my favorite club, and that's what I want to keep doing. But I also need you to hold me accountable to that. So if you do see me, this might be weird hearing this from someone, but if you see me going down a route that you think, hang on, that's not what I signed up for, and that's not what I said myself was going to happen, then I want you to hold me accountable to that. Because let's just consider this the pilot. Like right now it's on kind of a placeholder channel, so please do subscribe if you enjoy what you see from this episode, and if you like the content in general, because it will evolve. It will have a kind of consistent format. It will have a consistent setting and look to it. And this is kind of just to see where we're at. So, I'll keep it unedited. I'll keep it unfiltered and respectful. And, that is to kind of set the tone of however it ends up being is what I want this show to be. And, for all I know, it could fall and die a death. Who knows? I'm being realistic, but it could also be amazing and sustain me for years to come, and sustain us for years to come. Just like Ruben Amorim. Oh, that's my first segue. That's my first YouTube type segue. Do you see that? I went from him, myself, to Ruben. I like that. I'm just going to take some water while you just soak that one in. Oh, I love a bit of Buxton. So we have to talk about Ruben Amorim. I think it's one of the most talked about things that is going on in the media right now, especially with the international break and even with the Ballon d'Or ceremony. No one can keep Manchester United off their mouths, because that is what it's like being a Man United fan. But I have to start everything on a bit of a different note and talk about the man that he's replacing, because you will have known, if you follow me for a while, that I backed Erik Ten Hag until the wheels came off. And I have no regrets about that, because as a fan, I feel like that's my job. I'm supposed to support the team, support the manager, but there is that fine line between, do you just become delusional and hope, and it's kind of 99% hope, 1% chance, and you start filling your head with things that might not happen, and then you kind of dilute the real picture of what's going on in front of your eyes. Now, I wanted Ten Hag to succeed massively. I really, really did. And something I said quite publicly at the time of us being linked with Amorim and all these other managers was, there still wasn't a manager that made me feel as excited watching their team as Erik Ten Hag's Ajax team did. That's still true. I still like watching that team, and its emphasis on youth, its dynamism in the midfield, and its progression through the thirds. It was just so nice to watch, and I have always been a subscriber to the Dutch style of total football anyway, and I just thought the Ajax way to Man United, it makes sense. And there was a history of, great Dutch players at Man United and Ajax players. So it just thought, that kind of made sense to me, but it didn't work out. And, I'm not going to sit here and talk about how sad I am about Ten Hag, because we have to move on to where things have moved to, which is still, we've gone for a young, exciting, progressive coach who will have a lot of place to grow at Man United, and it's kind of up to us to give him the chance to do that. But, the clear thing at the beginning of all this is that we know there are massive similarities between, Ten Hag's Ajax, like that sort of pedigree and, the aura he had over there, similar to what like Amorim has had at Sporting, because you still have two overachieving clubs. Ajax were just in a bad state. They should have been achieving what they were. Ten Hag came in and reminded them of who they are. But Amorim is different, because Sporting were almost always considered the third team in Portugal, and he's made them the top team for the past few years, and made them consistent in the Champions League, made them one of the most talked about teams outside of Europe's top 5 leagues. And I think what's really been nice to see with Amorim is that there's been such a clear progression in certain principles that I've really enjoyed seeing from afar, and hopefully we'll see at Manchester United. But I really want to emphasize a few things in this video, because it's titled, what I expect from Ruben Amorim. And, it also goes hand in hand with what I expect from the people who have brought Ruben Amorim in. And I don't know about you, and I want you to, get in the comments, and, if you see these clips, like, share them around and get your opinions on them, because I'm really happy with the type of appointment that Ruben Amorim is. Listen to my words. I'm really happy with the type of appointment that Amorim is. So I'm so glad that we've gone away from that time of scraping the bottom of the barrel and seeing who was available and probably paying stupid amounts of money in salaries and fees and whatever to procure managers who have a certain, level or have hit a pedigree and have a name, to come to Man United, or the opposite, and just kind of not thinking ahead enough and then having to be reactive to everything, and ultimately coming out with a choice that maybe you weren't even thinking of, should that eventuality occur, and should you have, preempted it. So what's been clear is that, having looked at managers in the summer and having looked at other alternatives for Ten Hag, which some may say it kind of undermined him with where he was, but I will say that it absolutely just made sure that they had a plan B. They had a plan C probably if plan B didn't work out. And we've landed on Ruben Amorim, who as a type of appointment, I would want the progressive, interesting, forthcoming and forward-thinking manager over a dinosaur, or over someone who the team can't really get behind or the fans can't really relate to. Because something that I think has definitely been lost is a bit of an aura around Old Trafford, because in the last year and a bit under Ten Hag, you didn't know what you were going to get. Like, either you got a great performance or great results like we saw against Liverpool on occasion, not including the 7-0, or what we had against Man City in the FA Cup final, but it still felt flat. Every time I went there, it did feel really, really flat. But, this is an exciting appointment. And I think that segue from Ruben Amorim to Ten Hag to Van Nistelrooy to Ruben Amorim is a really smart one, because you've kind of built that back up again. And a word on Ruud, I guess, that is... Yeah, it hurts. It genuinely hurts, the fact that I have had to see him leave our club twice in my lifetime. I've been on record and said this. He's the only player who, when he moved, I cried. I cried my eyes out when Ruud left, and I want to cry now. He's my favourite player of all time, and I loved everything about the guy. And, looking back, at the time I didn't know this, I was quite young, but when he did leave the first time, it was under a bit of a cloud, wasn't it? So now he kind of came back and he did everything with dignity and class. He carried himself so well, and you just think, yeah, Ruud, you know what? If you had to say goodbye to us again, you did it on your terms, kind of, and it made, it kind of wasn't. He might want to have taken the job on, but you know what I mean? Like, you did it in the way that you wanted to have bowed out, not under a cloud by falling out with the manager or not, and then regretting it years later, which he said he has. But he can't have any regrets about how he dealt with his interim charge of Manchester United. So to Ruud, if you're watching this, thank you. I love you. I miss you. I want to hold you, hug you, squeeze you, because you are my favourite player and you always will be. And I'm just glad I got to see you again. I was there at your first game. A lot of us were cheering your name, and that atmosphere, I feel like we're going to bring that on to Ruben Amorim. And, you know, we went about replacing Ten Hag really well. So clearly, you know, INEOS had preempted that change. They definitely wanted to align someone with the identity of everything that they've been saying. You know, one thing we can't say wrong about INEOS is that they've been so much more vocal and more inclusive of us as fans than any of our previous owners have been, you know, under the Glazers, because back then they were just mouthpieces to feed shareholders more than they were to feed the fans. And what I love is that you've already got Omar Barada, who I think is a great appointment from City, coming in and leading that as the face of the organisation. And you've got, you know, I've forgotten his name now. I've forgotten his name. Oh my God, am I stupid? See, this is why I like that it's going to be unfiltered, but I'm just gonna keep Dan A. What's his name? Oh my God, I'm stupid. Ashworth. I'm so stupid. I didn't even type it in. I ended up typing Sporting. I've lost my whole mind. Dan Ashworth, right, is a really nice addition to this team, as is Jason Wilcox and as is Jean-Claude Blanc. I think that is one of the best things about INEOS is we do have some really top in-class people in these roles. And Amorim immediately is coming in as a head coach. He's not coming in as a manager. And that shows, how far we've lagged behind, because we haven't had a sporting director ever, really. We might have put the likes of Murtaugh and Arnold in positions that were akin to a sporting director, but now we've got Dan Ashworth as our sporting director, and someone who's got a really good CV from Brighton and from Newcastle as well, and so I'm really happy with that, and we've concluded good business, and it shows that in the business we've got our targets. We've been able to have 3 or 4 targets on the list that fit criteria, and if anyone's going to need some criteria to fit, it's going to be Ruben Amorim, because the identity that INEOS want is someone who's going to be here for a long term, someone who's going to be here to impose an identity and impose a structure on the playing side of the club. And Ruben Amorim is definitely that guy, and he aligns with already what we've been seeing from INEOS, because you look at that Sporting team and he built it from the ground up. He had players in there, sort of like, I think Yannick Bolasie might have been there when he was there. Hesse might have been there as well. And I'm hearing stories that apparently these types of players, not specifically them, but those types of players from the previous era before Amorim, who weren't up to his standards in the press or in the philosophy he wanted, they were shipped out. And he was backed by his organisation to do that. And look at the reward he got. He's got so many young players in that Sporting team who, by the way, even though he's left, these players that he's brought in, like a Diamonde and a Nacio, and so many more, Hjulmand and obviously Gyökeres, who was brought in, but he's developed, they will go and sell for stupid amounts of money, and that will set up Sporting for the next 20 years probably. And I think it's really key to pinpoint that, because it does feel like, you know, big club coming in over a smaller club and then taking what's theirs, and it feels a bit predatory. But frankly, that's how the football world works. But also there is a big knock-on effect that stems from his time at Sporting. So, you know, that is really strong. And also with the players he's been able to develop, like a Gyökeres, for an example, then you can see that he can work with what he's got and he can develop what's there in order to bring the best out of them. Because, like I said, we've already talked about the likes of Viktor Gyökeres, and he has this pedigree on improving players, because Gyökeres might have been good at Coventry, and he was definitely showcasing some skill there. But how do you go from being a good striker or a promising striker at Coventry to them being one of the best and most clinical finishers in the world in 2 years? That goes to show how good Amorim's system is, how good he is at acknowledging what his players are best at and suiting that system, and also to be flexible in his approach to bring the best out of each of their individual qualities. So he has all of those things, or he's shown to have all of those things. So to then come in at Manchester United, where we're all looking at, where's this player going to fit? Where's that player going to fit? I think we've actually got someone who's got the tactical brain to not just fit square pegs in round holes, but actually mold them into something that we can all understand what he's doing. And that is where Ten Hag struggled. That's where lots of managers have struggled. But it's where moving forward, I don't think Amorim will, because he's also got that structure behind him that are going to feed into his philosophy, because that's what they've done. INEOS weren't going to go and get a manager by paying their sign-on fees and paying the sign-on fees for all of their staff if they weren't going to back him. That's a lot. I haven't spoken to anyone from INEOS. I'm definitely summarizing and I'm guessing that that's what's going to happen. But I'm pretty confident that that is their intention, because that aligns with everything they've said so far. So I'm really happy about that. And I also really enjoy the fact that one thing that's kind of gone under the radar is our recruitment within the academy this season. I mean, it's not gone under the radar if you've seen what our under-18s are doing at the minute, with Chilwell Martin doing a madness, Bendito, Mantato, and like all these different players who are starting to, come good. I mean, they're still 16, 17, but you can start to see what's building there. And Chilwell Martin's like 6 foot plus already. So, and he was bought with the idea of being like a third striker behind Højlund and Xerxes. So it's really interesting to see that we invested in our academy specifically this time. I know Kone's out with an injury. We'll see what comes of that. But Samuel Lascelles, James Overy, and, we're still planning for more in January by the sounds of things. So, that's music to Amorim's ears, because now Manchester United for ages, I've always thought that Carrington was the benchmark. But over the last few years, we have kind of lagged behind, and we have, not been producing enough star quality players. Like Marcus Rashford is a star quality player. He just is. And you look at his figures and, minus any negative PR you want to do about him, and he does have poor performances here and there. Look at his overall figures for Manchester United and he whips most people out of the park. Like he's been a proper star from our academy. Let's not kid ourselves there. But then when we did have Pogba, then we let him leave, or Ravel Morrison never hit the ground running, or Jesse Lingard, like he had his moments, but it wasn't sustainable. And Will Keane never made it. Martin Keane never made it. But these players seem like we're actually building for the future, and that's going to be amazing under Amorim, because that Sporting team are still building and they're still really young, and he's probably wishing he could bring some to Man United, and maybe we will. We don't know. We've been down that road before with Eric and Ajax, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But to have someone who's already got that clear pedigree on bringing academy players through and wanting to see them through to the end, that's amazing. And I have pointed out a lot of synergies, haven't I, between, without even realising it, between Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim. But I think one very big difference between the two, now I haven't sat down with him, I haven't met him, I don't know this, firsthand, but the man is charismatic. The man knows how to address the media, even when he was getting a few sly digs from the likes of Cotterill and all these people who, wanted to, make something of nothing while he was in his last few days at Sporting. He still maintained a lot of dignity for himself, for the club, for us. And he also showed that he can have a bit of a laugh and a joke. He can say things that gets people thinking rather than just bringing the pincers in on him. And that's where Ten Hag really failed. That's where he really failed, because I don't think he's that kind of guy. And, you can't be everything. You can't, because, most managers aren't. But the good managers, the great managers, have the majority of the things you need. And Pep says silly things, Klopp says silly things, and he lost his head loads of times. And we'll see with Slot, and we've seen with Arteta already. But I'm not expecting him to be this calm, suave guy all the time, but to immediately have fed off a few daggers and to have left with some real class and dignity, and under the fanfare of what the Sporting lot have done for him, it shows how loved he was, how connected he was with the fan base. And I think that's what he's going to emulate with us. And that's so exciting. That's the conclusion for this video, is what I expect from Ruben Amorim is to go into the most exciting era that we've had post Sir Alex Ferguson, because I can't emphasize how important it is to have that structure behind you that's actually going to fulfill you to do your job to the best of your ability. It's the same in any organization, but especially in football, where you feed off of momentum and emotion and support support and encouragement, he's going to have all of that. And that's going to feed into a cauldron with this new wave of positivity that's sweeping over the club, with a new stadium potential and with, sponsorship potentials and with a different transfer strategy. And already we've brought in young players who we can develop, and you're seeing with the likes of Manuel Ugarte, who I think is one of our better signings, and Matthias de Ligt, who is one of my favourite signings that we've made, but even Mazraoui, like we're either being smart or we're investing in the future. And when Amorim comes in, one thing you won't see me doing on this channel, like however it develops, is talking too much about tactics, because I want to learn. Like, if you know more than me, stick it in the comments, because I want to learn and take in as much as I'm informing and giving out. But I don't know much about the tactical side of the game. But what I do know, just common sense, if we're playing a 3-4-3 and the wingers on either side have to have a mix of defense and attack, and you need 3 centre backs, like a couple that are mobile and one that's resolute, having a De Ligt as that resolute player, or even a Maguire in that role until we figure out where he wants to be, and a Lisandro Martinez and a Lenny Yoro. Like, that makes so much sense. It does, and injuries permitting, obviously, but 2 number 10s potentially. Could we see Mount do something? Could we see, Dallo and Mazraoui really hone in that right and left wing back roles? Can we see Kobbie Mainoo have some freedom, because he'll have that protection of the back 3, and then have an Ugarte running around? Can we have Casemiro resign to a bit more of a substitute role and bring on his expertise when needed, even as the back 3, because he's proven that as a centre back? Can we see Højlund kick on? Can we see Xerxes kick on? It's just all of these ifs, buts. Like, for me, they don't give me any cause for concern. They give me cause to be excited, because before, it's like, I don't see how you're going to do that. I don't see how this player works there. I don't see how this, that. But that's because a manager has come in and hasn't really, and I don't know what they're trying to do. But with Amorim, it's clear, like, he knows what he wants to do, and he's going to try and achieve that. And I think we're going to see, there's going to be bumps. There's going to be teething issues. There's going to be players who don't get it, that don't want to get it. And that's fine. Get them out. And we'll see how we're moving forward under this rebuild under Ruben Amorim, because this is probably the first time that we can say, as Manchester United fans, that a rebuild is actually taking place. Because for all that we've spent and for all that we've put behind other managers, it's ultimately been signed off by people who didn't know enough about what they were doing and weren't really acting with a way to make Manchester United a sustainable long-term success. But that's what INEOS are doing, and that's what they want to do with Amorim. And I am locked in all the way. And I have to say, if you thought that I was insufferable before when it came to, like, back in Ten Hag, you have no idea what I'm going to do with Amorim. I've even got a little lump in my throat and I need to take some water, but I want to get this out. Amorim, like, he's young, he's got nice hair, and he's got like a chiseled beard, he's got a jawline. He was a player recently. He played with Lindelof, for goodness sake, so he knows how to mesh with the players. And I want a manager who wears a hoodie and Air Force Ones and dunks on Pep Guardiola. That's what he did at Sporting. Let's see if he do it again. And, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited about it. And I think this is the perfect time to kick off this channel as well, because, like I say, I can't go too much into tactical depth, because that's where I'm not going to be the be-all and end-all of all channels. But what I do want to do is that with my platform so far, I have bred a more positive, light-hearted, but generally calmer outlook. And that means I won't be jumping on everything. I will give my opinion when I feel like my opinion needs to be given. And I want to just foster a really safe and calm and fair community of Manchester United fans. And if that's you, click that subscribe button and please do share it around, because, like I say, if this goes somewhere, then amazing, and I'll be really thankful if it does. But I can only get there with your support. So let's see how far we can take this, because I don't want my tripod to be literally a second class tube that was delivered in the mail. I don't want it, like, I don't want my desk lamp to be illuminating me. I want a set. I want to bring people in. I want to build this into something, but I can only do that with your support. So thank you so much for watching. And this hasn't been cut, so I appreciate it. It just has been me talking for 23 minutes. So if you've stuck around, fair play. I appreciate you. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments about the setup, the channel, the video, and if you've got any thoughts about where I should take it in the future. Like I say, it's a pilot, so things will move. But I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. So if you did enjoy, please like and subscribe and follow the journey, because I think we're going somewhere. Where we're going, I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to take you there with me. So I appreciate you all. And let's jump on the Ruben Amorim train because I am excited.